At the beginning, we meet Iris. She's walking through a supermarket when she makes eye contact with Josh, who drops some oranges at that moment. They meet as they laugh about it. Then Iris wakes up and says she dreamed about the moment they met. They are traveling on vacation along a road that even a map doesn't show. They are headed to a house, isolated from everything, with no people nearby. They gather their things, and before they get to the door, Iris changes her mind. She doesn't want to embarrass him in front of his friends with her behavior and wants to go back. He reassures her that she should just smile and act happy, and everything will be alright. At the door, they are greeted by Kat, an old friend who doesn't pay any attention to Iris until Josh says something. Inside are Patrick and Eli, who are in a relationship, and Sergey, a Russian who owns the place. Iris compliments him on the lake house, and he says he bought all the land around it so he could live remotely, away from everyone. They settle into their room, and Iris takes a shower. Afterwards, everyone gathers together, and Patrick tells a story about how he met Eli, who was wearing a dinosaur costume at a party. Patrick accidentally stepped on his tail, and that's how it all began. After that, Patrick asks what Sergey does for work. Sergey replies that his hands are dirty, as is his job. Kat and Iris get into a brief conversation where Kat admits she does everything Sergey wants, and she is his property, even though he has a wife. Kat points out that she doesn't need to tell Iris this, and Iris thinks she hates her, to which Kat responds that she makes her replaceable. Later that evening, Eli starts to dance, and the others join in one by one. While enjoying the moment, Iris finds herself alone while Kat is with Josh on the other side. Iris approaches him and leads him away, which later leads them to bed, after which Josh falls asleep. In the morning, they prepare to go to the lake, where Iris talks in detail about the forecast and the weather. Josh tells her to go alone, and he will join her later after he showers. Iris follows his instructions while he plugs in some secret device while she is gone. Meanwhile, Iris arrives at the lake and reaches into her pocket, pulling out a knife, which she quickly puts away after Sergey arrives. She finds it awkward to be there and wants to go back to Josh. Here, Sergey mentions the lake house and hopes she enjoys her time here, as this place is beautiful. She decides to stay with him. Sergey is looking forward to her putting sunscreen on his back, and he grabs her hand, saying it's Kat's idea. Iris wants him to stop. The scene shifts back to the house, where everyone is, and Iris appears covered in blood, with a knife in her hand. She says that he forced her, and she had no choice. She took a bottle and hit him in the head, causing him to fall. As she approaches him, he hits her and tries to choke her to death. She takes out a knife and stabs him in the neck, after which Josh tells her to shut down. They tie her to a chair, and Josh sits across from her, where she wakes up and continues where she left off. Iris explains that it was self-defense and that she's not lying. Josh says that she can't lie even if she wants to because it's part of her programming, mentioning that she is a robot, more specifically a companion robot that provides emotional support to the user. Iris thinks this is some kind of a bad joke and is disabused of this notion when he asks her about the weather and also sets her to speak more languages like Spanish and Chinese. All the memories she has are like outlines that he put in so she would have a backstory. The day they met in the grocery store is fake and never happened. He could have just randomly picked any place for them to meet. One day she arrived at his address, delivered. After she turns on, she needs to connect with him as a love link, and she will do whatever he orders. And if he wants to reset her, the sensor is behind her right ear. After that, Josh syncs her with his phone, after which she gives him commands to connect as a love link, and he waits while she creates memories with him of how they met, and she wakes up as his partner. So this is the story of how they met. Iris says she feels emotions and pain and still wants to go home with him and live together, which is impossible for Josh. Kat walks in and says to shut her down, distracting Josh with her while Iris has an idea in mind. While they are arguing, Iris lowers herself to get free, and when Josh comes, she hits him and takes the phone that controls her, after which she leaves, and Eli is busy so he doesn't notice her. Josh comes out and shows the mode with which he can access forbidden functions on Iris, proving that he has jailbroken her and increased her aggression and self-defense functions so that she is enabled to harm others. Josh also admits that he used Iris to kill Sergey because, besides being a bad dude who was doing dirty business, the reason was money, specifically $12 million. So Eli realizes that this trip was set up to kill Sergey. Josh says he will get a cut, so it will be a three-way split between Josh, Kat, and Eli, who wants a four-way split for Patrick, where we discover that he is also a robot. $4 million sounds reasonable for him now, and he will help them find her in the woods. All Josh needs to do is get close to her and put her to sleep with a voice command. Eli takes the gun, and the robot hunting begins. It appears that Iris knows his password and now has access to adjust her parameters, where she changes the color of her eyes and her voice, after which she increases her intelligence to 100%. While the others leave to look for her, Josh finds that they should split into 2 groups to make it easier to find her. In the meantime, Iris uses her intelligence. She considers hitchhiking, but gives up. She can walk, but that will take a long time and isn't worth it. Then she remembers she has his phone, which can control his car, and is the best plan. While she walks, Eli and Patrick come along and she hides behind a tree. Patrick reveals the story of how they met at a party, and he is aware he is a robot, just hoping that Eli doesn't alter his program like Josh did to Iris. At that moment, the phone rings, and Eli pulls out the gun mentioning her name, and she runs away while he shoots at the tree, and the others hear him. They chase her and split up so that Eli catches her and knocks her down, and the gun falls out. They both try to grab it, and a shot is heard in which Eli dies. Patrick sees this and Josh tries to stop her with his voice, but it doesn't help anymore after her settings. Josh chases her, and she gets into the car, where she injures his hand. Iris wants to start the car, but her voice isn't recognized, and she uses the voice settings to sound like Josh, and the car starts on command while it runs over his foot. Josh goes back inside and takes Sergey's phone where he reports his car as stolen, so the car stops at the side of the road. Now Iris is locked inside the car, and Josh calls her, says he will forgive her, and she can come back to start over, but she breaks up with him. Then Josh comes to Patrick and gives him instructions to catch Iris, but Patrick is motionless and doesn't react. Josh decides on a crazy idea, so he resets him and connects the love link with him, where they meet and now become a couple. In the meantime, Iris breaks the car window and gets out, while the sheriff arrives, and she sets the language to other, so when they communicate, he doesn't understand anything. The sheriff tries to understand the situation, what exactly happened, and as he approaches, he notices the bloody knife in the car, and then everything is clear to him. He puts handcuffs on her, and Patrick joins, practicing some punches and knocks the sheriff down and stops Iris. He takes the police car and does his job, although they don't like the sheriff in the trunk. Kat now thinks that the best idea is to leave them while she can. She tells Josh that too many innocent people have died, and Sergey is one of them because he was involved in sod farming, which is why he said he was in dirty business, but Josh understood it differently. He orders Patrick to stop her, and he stabs her in the back to their surprise, and she slowly walks to the bed where she settles next to Iris. After all of this, Patrick makes a meal for Josh, who wakes Iris for their last dinner. Josh blames her for all this, but Iris turns the situation around that he used her to get rich, and Josh decides to reduce her intelligence from 100 to 0. Since she said earlier that she feels pain, he wants to test it now, telling her to stretch out her hand and puts a candle under it, where she shows emotions and pain while he is talking on the phone, and when her hand catches fire, he calls Patrick to help. He sits in the place and orders Iris to take the gun and put it to her head and pull the trigger, which she does. After all of this, Josh calls the company that produces these robots to report a malfunction, saying that Iris killed them all and that he is the victim here. The team prepares to take over the broken robot, and Eddie says this police officer is familiar to him, and Josh jumps in quickly, thinking he had exactly the same thought when he first saw him. Saad says he will fix her quickly, and this process includes the footage she filmed of everything she saw, so they will also see what happened. This system is not damaged because it is not in her head but in her stomach, which Josh doesn't like. The team sets up Iris, and the moment he turns the vehicle, he sees Patrick in front of him, where Saad remembers that he is one of their first models that is no longer producing. Patrick draws a gun and starts shooting at them, killing one and chasing the other, while Iris reboots and gets up. Patrick catches him and chokes him, and Iris comes with a taser, but she can't attack him because her system has been reset and she can't hurt anyone. Patrick attacks her and takes the taser, and Iris uses the tactic to explain the truth about Josh to him, that he only uses him for his ideas, and she mentions Eli as his partner, where he begins to remember, saying that Josh only uses him as a weapon, mentioning that she can't lie, and Patrick now believes her and decides to end himself. Teddy wakes up and joins with Iris, while Josh packs the money and hears music that attracts his attention, and Iris appears, who now has total self-control thanks to Teddy, and Josh can no longer control her. She takes out a gun and shoots next to him, showing that she is serious and that he means nothing to her. Josh then approaches her, and she says she will shoot but doesn't because she is still in love. Josh pushes her against the wall and uses her weakness to control her because he doesn't need a phone for that. Josh wants her to admit that she can't live without him and hits her head on the floor, where she admits that he is everything to her. Josh takes the gun and points it this time at her stomach, saying goodbye, and Iris hits him with the device in the head, which kills him. After that, Iris takes a shower and removes her burned skin, looking at her robotic hand, after which she dresses and takes all the money for herself and the car with which she leaves.